Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. If you are not able to hear me, please write in the chat box which is on the right of your screen. If you are able to hear me, also please indicate that you are able to hear me by writing in the text box. Okay, thank you, Krishna. So we'll wait for others before formally starting the session. So we'll just wait for 5 minutes before formally starting the session. Before that, if you have any questions, you can ask me through the chat box or you can through your microphone. I'll be covering the lecture notes from week 1 to week 2, like the key concepts that you should know. Right? So, if you have any questions till now, you can ask me, and I will formally begin the session after a few minutes to see that if new students are joining the session. So, as you are coming, please provide your attendance in the chat box. Okay, and if you cannot hear me, you can hear me. Just provide in the chat box that you can hear me. Okay. So, let's begin by some of the important things that you should know, like in joining CS1. So, in this course, we will mostly be using a programming language that is called C++. Now, C++ is a programming language. It is a language that is used by the computer to understand. Like, you can use it to make programs, right? And IDE. IDE refers to Integrated Development Environment, right? It is where you will be able to write your C++ code and compile it. An example of an IDE is dev C++. Right? You might have installed it and you will be able to write your programs there. So, if you have any trouble installing it, please inform me. I can guide you to how to install it. Right? And now, in C++, who invented C++? It was Bernard Strausstruck. He invented C++. And you should also, as a programmer, you should be knowing of the ethics of programming. Right? So these are some of the things that you should know. Now let's look at a simple C++ program and let's analyze the piece of code. As you can see here, as hashtag include IOStream, right? So we refer to this as the header file, right? Every program includes one or more headers. So the purpose of IOStream is for input-output. So it contains a set of libraries that contains, and the libraries contain functions, right? So for now, you should know that. And using namespace std, every program that uses standard services requires this directive. So in making a program in C++, you need to have this, you need to have the main function, that's this, and you need to include the main function in brackets, right? So every program has a main function. The statements of a function are enclosed in brackets, right? So Here in this main function, we are displaying something on the screen. We are writing hello world on the screen. So the syntax for writing something on the screen is like this. You have this cout, then you have two arrows pointing to the left, then you write the things that you want in double quotations, followed by two, and then you can have a semicolon here. The purpose of this TNDL end line, as we refer to, is to make the program move to the next line after this statement has been executed. For example, if there was a cout, if below this statement it was this statement and there was no end line, then it would have been printed like this. First we would have printed hello world, then we would have printed hello again. There wouldn't be any change of lines. It would all have been printed on the same line. But what end line does, it skips a line. So hello world will be printed in the first line, then it will end that line, ENDL, and then we'll move to the next line to print hello again. Are you able to understand this slide? If you have any questions, you can write in the chat box. So I assume you are all okay with this. So please keep communicating in the chat box. So that is easier. So any response in the chat box, like if you understand all fine, yeah, right. And the rest, the new participants who have joined, please provide your student ID in the chat box so that I can put your attendance there using your student ID. The chat box is located on the right hand side of the screen. You can just type your student ID and your name and just click on send. I hope all of you can hear me. Okay, now moving on to the next slide. So this is an exercise for you. So you know that end line is a way to skip a line. Now in C++, we have special characters called escape characters, which can be used to simplify your work. For example, a backslash followed by n also means to move to the next line, and this needs to be in the quotations, right? So for example, when writing hello, and then we have this escape character in world. So hello will be printed in the first line, world will be printed in the second line. Okay? Right. So now I am requesting all of you to try out this exercise and please put your answer in the chat box. Right? And yeah. So I'm giving you 2 minutes just to figure out how will this be written in the output screen. So it's how will the following sentence be printed? We will see our statement, hello, end line, welcome, end line, to end line, big 4. I'm encouraging all of you to attempt this, please. On that note, if you need to ask any questions, you can, on the left hand side of the screen, you would see a arm, the left arm. When you hover over it, you will see raise hand. So when you press that button, I will be able to know that you want to ask a question. Right? It's same as raising your hand in the class. Right? Okay, none of you have responded. If you're still doing it, please inform me that you are still trying to figure out a solution. Okay.
No. Excuse me, where I gonna write my ID number?
Excuse me, I cannot get your question. Can you write your question in the chat box, please?
Okay.
Okay. So moving back to the question. So I've got a response. So yeah. So your question is that where you can write the answer for that question. Okay, right. So on the right of your screen, you will see a chat box, right? It will be written public on top, and there would be a place for you to input your text and press send. Can you see it? Yeah. So you can write your answers here. Right? So I got an answer from Mr. Krishna, and like he has said, like we'll have hello, new line, welcome, new line, to new line, week 4. Okay. And then you are going to end that line. Right? Now to be precise, if such questions come in the exam, you cannot write like new line in the like new line. You don't write this. Instead, you just show how this will be written in the standard output. So you can just say hello, right? And then you see there's an we end that line. So you just put go to the next line, welcome, then the next line too, and there's another skipping of a line and week 4, right? So this is the solution to this problem. So any one of you still facing confusion regarding this escape sequence? Like I'm focusing on this question because like in my exam, the exam which I did, there was a question regarding this. So I hope that all of you are okay regarding this question. So I'll move on to the next slide. Oh, now you might have written many programs since the start of week 1 in depth C++, and sometimes you could have been not able to compile your work, right? The result would have been from the compile error. This could be from a missing semicolon, like improper verbal names, and so on and so errors. So now, the difference between errors and warnings, right? So errors occur in the program, in the code, when you are not able to compile your code, right? For example, we have written the hello world program And when you click on compile, the black screen does not appear. Instead, there is a snippet or there is a message at the bottom that appears in probably red that describes some of the errors that you have in your code, right? If such errors are called compile errors, and they can be classified as errors. That means that the compiler could not finish its job. On that note, the job of a compiler is to change the code, the things you write in the C++ to machine code. So that's the function of a compiler. So error means there is no executable code. Error means that you find and fix the problem yourself. There is an error at compile time, simply meaning that the time you are compiling your program, the program is not able to be compiled, right? So there are errors, right? Now on warnings. So warnings are generally more dangerous than errors. The compiler will find the errors and tell you the errors. But warnings, the compiler will not find the warnings. It means that the compiler can finish its job. It will give you the black screen. It means that the code is executable, but it may hang or worse. Warning means that you should look again at the code and look at the program, test for all inputs and see if it does what you want. There could be a serious error at runtime. For example, if you divide by 0 in your calculator, it will write something as math error. But like for example, if you do the same thing in your code, the compiler will not tell there is a math error. But when you execute the code and divide by 0 there, it will behave in an unexpected manner, something which is not that good. So that's the main reason for, that's the main difference between errors and warnings. Errors are during compile time, warnings are during runtime. So, is missing a semicolon a compile error or a runtime error? Please answer by yes or no in the chat box. So, please answer this question. Just by yes or no in the chat box. Right, all right. So if it is a compile error, you can say yes. If it is a runtime error, you can say no. You know, this part is missing a semicolon or compile error. Right. Now, when writing your code, if you miss the semicolon, right, will the code compile? The code will not compile if you miss a semicolon. It will tell you that the semicolon is missing, right? So it will cause a compile error. You will not be able to execute your program if there is a missing semicolon, right? And now let's do question number 2. Will this spelling error cause a compile error? So there is a clear statement. There is an error in this sentence. Will this cause any warning? No. So I made a mistake in this question. So I wanted this to be A. So the main point that I want to discuss is like whatever you want to display on the screen, For example, if you have grammatic error, for example, instead of ERROR, you put IRROR. The compiler will ignore it. The compiler will think that it is something that you want. It won't cause a compile error. It's simply a logic error, spelling mistake, right? Now variables. We need variables to store values that we can get from the user, and variables are of different data types, right? So the syntax for a variable definition is as follows. We have a data type. This data type can be integer, string, double, float, character, etc. Right? And then we put an appropriate variable name. Right? So this name is used to describe, is a description of your of things that a variable can hold. Right? So if there was a semicolon, then you have declared a variable. And this part equals to 6 is known as initialization. That means you have declared a variable named canSpecific and given it an initial value of 6. Right? Then whenever you will print out canSpecific, it will print on the standard output 6. All variable definitions end with a semicolon, right? And as it is a good programming practice to initialize your variables, right? Because if you do not initialize your variables, for example, int b, right? So the compiler will assign a random value to b, and whenever you print b, it might be something like in hexadecimal. Okay, some of you are not able to hear me, so Joy, can you increase the volume of the speaker and try again and change this recording again? Okay. Now an exercise for you. So I want you to declare a variable that has to store the number of students in your class, right? So what data type will you choose and what will you name the variable? So please answer respectively. So first you can say the data type that you choose and what will you name the variable. So a variable that has to store the number of students in your class. So what data type will you use? Int, char, double, and then what will be the appropriate name for your variable? So please try your exercise. And yes, if you want, you can also attempt this question with this one. So I got 2 responses, and the rest 7 of you can also answer it. Okay, right. So the answer for the first one, right? What data type will you use? Now we have to store the number of students. We cannot say like there are 20.2 students or something like that. The number of students will depend on the number of students in the class. We can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 students. So since it will be a whole number, the best data type to use here will be an integer, right? And an appropriate name, as most of you have said it, the appropriate name will be student number. You can also have student num to shorten it, and yeah, anything that is descriptive is okay. But remember, we cannot start a variable name with symbols. It needs to start with a letter, right? And how will you initialize it to 50? So you can just say int student number equals 50. Great. So yeah, most of you attempted it. Thank you for attempting it. It was a really good effort, right? Now, the rules on choosing a variable name. All of you have chosen student number. Yes, that's correct. But like, variable names must start with a letter or underscore character, and the remaining characters must be letters or underscore, right? So that's the first rule. Second rule is, you cannot use other symbols such as a $sign or a percentage sign in your variable names. Spaces are not permitted inside the names. So for example, student number, you have an underscore in between, that's how you should name it. You cannot put a space in between, right?
Oh.
Next,
Oh.
variable names.
Oh. Of course.
Hello? Yes, your question please.
Oh, sorry. I'm just talking to someone.
Okay. So variable names are case sensitive. That means this is scan volume, right? It's different from scan volume. As you can see here, V is capitalized and here V is small. So these are two completely different variables because variable names in C++ are case sensitive, right? So these two are completely different. For the reason, it is a good idea to use only variable names with lower characters. It is also a good programming practice to have your variable names in lowercase letters. And the last one is, you cannot use reserved words such as, okay, let me write it here, such as cout and int as names, because these words are reserved exclusively for their special C++ meanings. So you cannot have a variable like named cout integer double. So these are known as the reserved words. Okay, so these are the rules regarding choosing a variable names. Please read through it. Right now, I'm sure most of you will be able to attempt this question, right? So you have an integer named cars initialized to 5, and to change the value of cars to 10, the simple thing we do is we just write cars equals 10. So this type of statement is known as a assignment statement. We are assigning the value 10 to the variable cars, right? So we first look at the value on the right. Speaking of assignment statements, for example, we have cars equals cars plus 1. Right. And a semicolon. Right. So we have cars initialized to 5. Then we have changed the values of cars to 10. And now assume this line is executed after this line. So when using these statements, we focus on the thing on the right at first, right? So cars, the values of cars from here is 10, 10 plus 1, 11. Now the values of cars will change to 11, right? So when there's an equal sign, when there's an assignment statement, you first focus on the things on the right, do the calculations that side, and then assign the value to the variable on the left. Okay? Now, constants. Create a constant variable to store the number of chairs. Can you try this question and post to answer in the chat box? For constant. You might have learned about this. If you still suggest, give it a try and we'll learn about it more. Right? And let's see, this is good reference. Yes. So yeah, just try out this question. Only one person has attempted it. If you're not sure, just please type not sure. Okay, right. So one person solution, typical, right? Thank you for that. One is correct and one is incorrect. Right. Like this is the correct solution. So we are declaring a constant variable. So we use the keyword const, right? So that the compiler knows we are declaring a question. Then we place the data type. So we have to create a constant variable to store the number of chairs. It will be a whole number const int. And a good practice to store constant is to have it in capital. Correct. And for this question, we have to assume like any number of chairs. Like that was the concept being tested, and fortunately, like one of our friends here has pointed out that, and that's the main thing, right? So we have declared a constant named chair number, and we have initialized it to 10. The question: all the constants need to be initialized to a value, unlike a variable, right? So this is the keyword, this is the data type, this is the name of the constant, and then this is the value, right? So this is how we create a constant variable to store something. Let's show you in slides. I forgot that to put the number of chairs here, so apologies for that, right? Okay, right. Let's look at data types. So these are some of the common data types. So in integer, we can show whole numbers, right? So the numbers can be 1, 2, 100, 9,000, 5,000, right? So if you need to store any whole numbers, you use the data type integer, right? Now float and double are a bit common, right? So they share the same functionality. You can either use float or double. They are used to store floating point numbers. So in simple terms, decimal numbers. Okay. For example, 1.2, 26.3, negative 15.2, right? So any decimal numbers, you use the data type float or double, right? So, and here you can also store a given integer, right? Now Boolean. The Boolean data type can only store two variables. Can only have two values, either of them. It's either true or true and false. So if you need a data type to store this true or false, you can use Boolean. It's either up or down. You cannot have both in Boolean. And string is used to store a string of characters, like it's a sentence. For example, hello everybody. This is a string. You can store it in the string data type. And the other one of the most commonly used data type is star. And you can store like characters in that, right? So in string you can store a whole sentence, but in character star you can store just a single character, right? So difference between string and star is you can see in string you use double quotations, where in star we use single quotations. So that's the difference. Okay, so one of our friends have asked, like, what's the main difference between a float and a double? Okay, right. So in the main difference is the amount of storage, like amounts of numbers we can store in a float and a double, right? Float is less. In double, we can go up to much more longer numbers than in float. So in double, for example, that's the main thing. In float, you can store longer digits of numbers and a bit less is in float. In double, you can store numbers greater than in float, right? So that makes double a bit more efficient, right? So that's the main difference. I hope I have answered your question. Okay. The next question is, bool is a statement to prove right or wrong. Okay. Yeah, that can be a statement. So I'll give you a real life example for Boolean. For example, we are looking for a person, right, named Tom. And we can create a Boolean variable named found and set it to false, right? So it will be keep on false, and once we have found the person, we can change it to true. So it will be like bool equals to false, right? And once he is found, we can change the value to true. So this true and false will be like more of importance when you learn about the if statements and while loop and the while loop and do while loop. So that is where Boolean statements are more important. So in the question, bool is the statement that proves to be right or wrong. Well, we are not actually proving it, we are just giving it a value for simplicity. Like we can have it as true or false. Okay, I hope I have answered your questions. Right. Okay, now it's been week 2 and I'm sure you have lots of questions. So now I can answer your questions. You can either use your microphone or you can write in the chat box for your questions. And also please write your student ID so that in the chat box so that I can update your attendance.